Hey, Arman here. Welcome to the NSP Nutrition Show, where we cover training, nutrition, supplementation strategies, and a whole lot more. So stand by. Hey, and welcome to the NSP Nutrition Show. I'm Arman Eckelbarger.
Hey, I'm Frank Mills, and thank you so much for joining us again this week for the NSP Nutrition Show. Whether you're watching or listening, we really appreciate it. And hopefully you're sharing it with folks so that we can help them out with, whatever we're talking about today. And today we've got a great show.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about Arman's thoughts about the carnivore diet. Now, I'm excited about this. If you guys haven't heard about the carnivore diet, Arman's going to go over that with you today, but very fired up about this one. And also, we're going to be talking about your fan questions, answering those and getting that information to you as well. All right, so let's get this show started. Arman, the carnivore diet. This is a great topic, in my opinion. So where do you want to start with this?
Well, the reason I was thinking about this whole thing is you see a lot of it in the media, and I've been kind of following Dr. Sean Baker a little bit just to kind of learn more about his perspective on things, because he is an orthopedic surgeon. So I thought it'd be a good one to mention, and, I'm going to get my thoughts on it. So we'll see how that goes and see what everybody else thinks.
Absolutely. Now, I've always been curious about this. Actually, where did this carnivore diet start? I mean, how did it come about?
Well, there's a lot of debate on that, but if you look it up, a lot of people are going to say, well, it's not a new concept. It's been around for centuries, which probably, it's probably a lot of people did eat. That's all they had to eat. So, which would make sense. But like also Vince, Vince had the steak and egg diet, which basically the carnivore diet. So, it kind of relates to that too. And I thought it'd be another good reason to kind of talk more about it. So, but other than that, it's the carnivore diet seems to be getting a lot of more recent attention and more promotion by different individuals in the health and wellness community. And so it's like, okay, let's see, me digging this a little deeper. And, again, the Dr. Sean Baker is the one who wrote the book promoting a carnivore diet. And again, he's an orthopedic surgeon. So obviously he has, some credentials based on that. And he's been doing it for, multiple years. It didn't say, how long. I don't know if it's 5 or years or 10 years, but he wrote the book and it's been promoting it. And so you're going to see it on social media, and you'll see it in other various interviews that come around. And he has some other people, medical people that are helping to promote it. So it's quite interesting.
Well, as soon as I heard it for the first time, of course, I had a flashback to school of learning about herbivores and carnivores and all that good stuff. But, knowing what I learned in school, like most of us have, carnivore, seems like it would be a meat eater. So, I'm thinking, is this an all meat diet? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, it does involve eating meat, but you also have other products, like you can have fish and eggs and then dairy. The thing you don't want to have is it's not a plant-based situation. So no plant-based foods. That means no fruits, vegetables, grains, legumes, and nuts. So I was kind of surprised by the nut thing. But so the idea behind the diet is that our ancestors primarily consumed meat and other animal products, which, that's true. And that our bodies are really better adapted to this type of diet versus, what's considered a herbivore diet. So proponents of the carnivore diet, they claim it can lead to weight loss, which it will. I mean, because, you're not taking any carbohydrates, and it'll help with insulin sensitivity. People see improved digestion, increased energy levels, and then better mental clarity, which, when you're doing a low carb diet, those are benefits of a low carb diet. So I think that's 100% spot on there. But then you got the critics, because you always have critics that they're going to argue that the diet's not sustainable in the long term, which I don't necessarily disagree with that. but they feel like it's going to lead to nutrient deficiencies and health problems. That hasn't really been shown, but that's what the critics say. And
Hmm.
so then they also consider it to be more leading to heart disease and then cancer, because saturated fat is connected with heart disease because you're eating saturated fat, and then beef. They've got studies saying that beef leads to cancer, and if you're eating off the shelf beef as one example, and off the shelf non-organic type foods, there's probably some reason for that. But just think about that for a second. How many other diets don't cause cancer? I think that one's just kind of a dig. I don't know. I just don't think that that's really got a lot of leverage on it. So, but I just find it interesting because all these other diets out there, they think it's going to create problems like heart disease as well. And look at the
Mm-hmm.
diets that cause heart disease. I
Right.
mean, most the standard American diet, it's doing heart disease all day long because look at people. I mean, and then the statin drugs aren't fixing that either. So a couple of things people need to start waking up on, but people are making money from it. So there you go.
Well, to me, it kind of makes sense. I'd rather take my chances on the carnivore diet than eating a bunch of processed food and
Yeah,
chemical enhanced stuff that is in the grocery store. You
yeah,
know,
same here.
right? So, and I think you and I grew up a little differently at times, but you know, my dad was a hunter, so I ate a lot of wild game, and there's a better flavor in that meat compared to what you buy in the store. I don't care how you season it, but
Yeah,
I do agree with you. I think the quality of the meat that you buy, or
yeah.
if you get it wild, is much better for you. And man, I like I said, I'd rather gamble on a protein diet than a lot of the other diets that you're talking about. Now, it's a popular diet. I mean, we know this. So why do you think that people like this diet so much, Armin?
All right. Well, first off, I wouldn't say a lot of women would like the
Sure,
diet, but
sure, sure.
guys, they like simple. And that's what it is. I mean, you don't need to count your calories. You don't need to look at your macronutrient ratios like protein, carbs, and fats,
Right,
and
right.
or portion sizes because you eat until you're full, and you know you're gonna have different types of meat. You're gonna have some, you're gonna have some fish and eggs and dairy products, and you just avoid all plants. So that's pretty simple. So guys can go, oh, I can do that. This the steak and egg
Mm-hmm.
diet from Vince was pretty simple. So people they like doing it.
Right.
So the other things that they liked about it is you do lose weight. They refer to weight loss, but I would say it's closer to fat loss. To the high protein content. You do get some glucose from that, so it helps give you some energy from that. It's low carbohydrate, so you're not going to be storing a lot of excess carbohydrates. And so with the protein and fat, it does decrease your hunger and your overall, which does affect your overall calorie intake because you tend to eat less because you're full. So that was a good takeaway. And then they feel like with what it's saying is improved digestion. Some people don't digest plants very well, and then let alone gluten and all these other things. So you're eliminating gluten, you're eliminating plant-based foods that can tend to upset people's stomachs or irritate them. Because people think you just eat plants and it's no problem. Well, not
Right.
necessarily. There are problems when you eat plants, and also plants have anti-nutrients in it, which they never talk about that.
Right.
But
Right.
again, for somebody that's looking for simplicity, that's a good fit. And then you do get increased energy and mental clarity because you're running off of fats, and ketones are great for the brain. They're more important than glucose, and there'll be a bunch of arguments saying differently, but it is.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens with this is you also going to it tends to reduce inflammation and then the negative effects. So it does affect keeping autoimmune diseases down. They've seen reversal of autoimmune diseases down by people that did more of that type of eating.
Mm-hmm.
So the potential health benefits, again, there's limited scientific evidence. I mean, they haven't done a lot of studies on it, so
Right, right.
they don't have anything to talk about on it. But at the end of the day, I mean, if you just look back in history, humans survived with basically meat, so it's kind of a no-brainer. So you know, overall, if you do it and you follow it, what the people like is their health biomarkers actually get better. Their insulin sensitivity is good. They don't have insulin resistance going on, and their blood sugar levels and the cholesterols are actually leveled out. So
Mm-hmm.
that's
Right,
just
right.
shown for people actually doing a diet and having lab work done. So these aren't studies; but they're results that people are seeing. So that's why people like it, and that's what it gets talked about.
Well, to me, it sounds like a simple diet. And, we have more options than they did back in the day on how to cook it. I mean, of course, they
Oh yeah,
cooked a lot of their stuff open fire, right? But we can grill it, we can air fry. I guess you could broil or,
oh
and,
yeah,
and it really
yeah,
depends on how you season and what you put on it. So you stay on that diet, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Well,
so
yeah,
it does seem like a very simple thought to just be able to eat meat. Now we're not talking like hot dogs and stuff. We're not talking
no,
that kind of meat. We're talking about chicken, beef, fish, eggs, right? That's it.
yeah. Well, I mean, that doesn't mean people won't necessarily eat hot dogs or other sausages and other things, but at the
Okay.
same time, the focus is just, in my opinion, based on what I've learned, is good quality meat. Okay, don't buy cheap meat. Buy
There you
organic.
go. Right.
Buy grass fed, and don't do a lot of processed food. Processed meats. But people will still kind of connotate, well, it's a meat, so I'm going to eat it. So there's a little bit of variance there. So
Yeah. Well, a lot of people think that when you go to the counter, like in a grocery store, you go to the deli, that all that meat's okay too. And that's
yeah,
processed meat for the majority
yeah.
of it, right?
Oh yeah, it's processed, that's for sure. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
it's you got meat glue in there and all kinds of nice stuff.
Right, right. Okay. So again, I said it was, to me, it seems like a simple diet. It's a
Yeah.
very simple process to follow. What are your thoughts on this, Armin, on the carnivore diet?
Well, I think, I've done the steak and egg diet, okay, but I think that it'd be hard to sustain long term.
Right.
Um, but in the short term, it's going to be good. Because even when Vince talked about the steak and egg diet, he talked about the mucus buildup from eating a lot of meat, and that he would do a cleanse, which was the vegetarian diet to help cleanse out that mucus, which is a bunch of vegetables. So even Vince was like, he didn't recommend it for long term.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the things you got to kind of keep in mind from because he used his diet really exclusively as well for competition, and it worked. So
Hmm.
there's nothing wrong with doing periods of this type of nutrition, I don't think. But I think it's going to be hard to sustain long term because you know you only have so much to work with here.
Well, as you say, long term and short term, just to kind of clarify for our audience, what would you kind of recommend the carnivore diet? Are you talking 4 weeks, 8 weeks,
Well, like Vince, he was doing a 6 week cycle. And
6 week? Okay.
when I do a competition, I still have some carbs, but I do follow this kind of strategy. But I do have a few carbs because I feel like I needed some to replenish the muscles in the liver from the training, and that's just me. So, but that doesn't mean
Gotcha.
other people couldn't do that. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
but yeah, I mean 6 weeks, and I think Vince would probably say no more than 2 or 3 months
Hmm.
from his perspective. But I can't tell you, what would be the maximum length or anything like that because everybody's so different.
Right.
But I would just
Right.
say that your taste buds, uh, just eating just meat all the time, you're going to crave some of the other stuff from time to
Hmm.
time. So,
Well, I'll tell you what, the thing that I like about it is that you can prep easier. I mean,
oh yeah,
you could grill like 20 chicken breasts and be set for the week easy, right? Or you
yeah,
could grill some, organic grass-fed beef on the grill, and there's a
I'd
lot
have
that
some of
you could
that.
do,
Yeah,
right?
for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
So what are some of the things that you like or dislike about the diet since you've done it?
All right. So, as you know, I'm a bigger fan of carb cycling. Okay, which has a lot of protein in that diet and extremely low carb. And I like to periodically do a carb loading day to replenish the muscles and liver. So that's really what I like to do. But I will have periods where I'll eat just mostly meat, except for maybe just a few carbs. And the other reason I'm having some carbs when I'm just eating mostly meat is just get some fiber, just to have some in there. But this diet would help people who are suffering from insulin resistance for sure, which it's shown to do. So if you have insulin resistance, you can actually reverse it pretty quickly with doing this kind of diet. And then once it's stabilized, then you could, again, you don't want to go back to your old habits, but you'd want to
Right.
restructure, your carbohydrate intake. That's why I like
Mm-hmm.
carb cycling. But you're most likely going to be eating less food because the meat's much denser. So what I would also say is, which Vince recommended when he had people doing these higher protein diets, is take some digestive enzymes to make sure you're breaking down that protein you're taking, so you're getting the amino acids from them, and you're getting the nutrients from them that you can. And again,
Mm-hmm.
Vince, he was a big fan of doing digestive enzymes.
Gotcha.
I don't think that it's beneficial to take other natural food sources completely out of the diet, since this can really affect other nutrients your body needs. So you're talking about the gut microbiome. So if you take all plants out, you are going to miss some nutrients that come from those plants. So I don't disagree with having some plants and then having some other types of foods like nuts. I think nuts do have a lot of good value to them. So that's just my kind of thought on it. Um,
Okay.
but it remains to be seen if this diet really affects the gut microbiome,
Mm-hmm.
because there's no tests that say so. But again, if you take certain foods out of there, it could have some impact. So um, I don't know. I mean, and I will say this. I think it'll be as boring as doing a plant-based diet. I mean, everybody likes to talk about plant-based diets, but just think about what you're eating all day long.
Yeah.
How boring is that going to be? Now, that's just my
Yeah.
opinion. So that's why I'm not another reason why I'm not a big fan of plant-based only diets. Because I
Right.
mean, I watch people eat it, and the next thing you know, they're eating processed food again because it's a pretty bland diet. Now, again, if you have somebody that's a chef and can flavor it all up, great. I just don't see that. So
Yeah, I agree with you. It's hard to flavor or enhance the flavor
well, I
of
mean,
a
it kind of is what
vegetable.
it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
lastly, depending where you're getting your meat and your dairy from, it could lead to some problems. So,
Huh. And so what do you mean by that? Armin, problems.
all right. So if you just take the word carnivore and you say, oh, it's just an all meat diet, and you're going in like we talked about earlier, and you're just buying meat and dairy is not organic, you're going to be consuming a lot of hormones, antibiotics, nitrates, and nitrites, which come from processed meats. So that's not going to help you. And then a lot of dairy can create an estrogen problem for men and women, because people don't really think about that either.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I had to deal with that myself. I was consuming a lot of cottage cheese on a regular basis for quite a few months, and then I just saw my estrogen jump way out of zone. And so I had to
Hmm.
cut that out of my diet just because of, there is estrogen from the cow, no matter if it's organic or not organic, it's still there. So it can, start loading up in your system. So that would be the one thing. Those would be some things. You got to eat organic, meat and then grass fed beef. And then, if you're going to do dairy, depending on how old you are, you may want to monitor your estrogen level to make sure you're not getting too much dairy. So that's kind of what I'm saying there.
So just to be clear, you're saying that the carnivore diet is safe and somebody could do it. Just make sure that you go organic and grass fed if you're going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I prefer organic, and on other diets as well. I mean, I think anything you
Okay.
do nutritionally, you need to have good quality food. So yeah, I mean, if you're just eating meat, you're going to survive because you get
Yeah.
glucose from the protein. The amino acids break down, and then the liver can convert the amino acids to glucose as needed. So it's not like you're not going to get any glucose. And
Right.
again,
Right.
people don't understand that either. They just think that it's all protein, but no,
Right.
it's not.
Okay. Well, it sounds like from what you've said, you're kind of nodding your head a little bit about the carnivore diet, but it sounds like you're not really a big fan. And I know you're very much a believer in carb cycling. Is that why?
Yeah, I mean, long term, I like to have other foods too. So,
Right.
I don't
Right.
feel like I need to give those foods up in my diet, just to stick with that. And I'm pretty lean. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then other people I work with, they want more variety. So I just don't think it's as sustainable since that. Um, so that's one of the things. I do think it will help people that are looking to improve their insulin resistance and insulin sensitivity. So if you want to lose some body fat and improve that, then I think this is a great way to go. But again, it's like Vince's steak and egg diet. I mean, it's
Right.
basically the same exact thing. But it depends on your preference, how you think about meat. Females don't like meat as much, from my experience. They'll eat it.
Right.
I haven't ran into a lot of females that really thrive on meat, but they'll eat
Right.
it. But they like the other things too. So I don't know. I wouldn't say it's something I'm going to recommend to my clients at all, because
Right.
I think my clients also want a little more variety, and just, oh, hey, we're just going to have pure meat and that'll be it. So,
Well, a lot of the things that I have tried back in the day, it was like chicken and red meat and
yeah,
fish and all the right. You had to eat a lot of meat. At dinner, you got like broccoli or things like that,
yeah, which is
and
actually
very
good. I mean,
vanilla plain, right?
yeah, but it's
And that's
really
why a
good
lot of
for you.
people didn't stick on the nutrition plans, is because they were so boring, right? You get tired of eating the same thing every day.
Well, not only that, but then you had to be in the period of the late 70s and the 80s where fat was bad. So then people stopped using butter. They started using
Right.
They started using margarine, and you're not even flavoring the foods the way that would make them good. I mean, butter is superior to margarine, no matter how you slice it. But people just don't like butter, or there's a lot of negativity towards butter. It's like, okay, whatever.
Well, it's amazing depending on what we've heard in the media, like eggs are bad
Yeah,
for you. Everybody's eating egg whites and throwing away the best part of the egg because
yeah,
they're
it's
worried
just,
about getting cholesterol and dying, right? Uh, it depends on who you talk to, and you and I have done shows on eggs and
yeah,
other things that have been popular in the media, and this false information gets out, and then the trend starts.
yeah.
So anyway, well, we're running low on time. Any final thoughts as we wrap up this segment on the carnivore diet?
Yeah, so in my opinion, it has some good points in the diet. But to me, it's just not a good sustainable nutritional strategy. But that's up to the person. So that's my thoughts. I do enjoy having carbs as part of my nutrition. So I just do it more strategically, so that it doesn't add more body fat to me. It just helps to replenish the muscles and liver. So any spillover will be pretty easy to manage. So that's what I prefer to do. But it's not a bad diet either. But I would say it'd be something to do short term, and then you got to figure out what you want to do longer term once you lean out or get your insulin sensitivity under control and knock out that insulin resistance. So that's kind of my thoughts on it.
I agree with you. So, hey, if you want to try the carnivore diet, try it out. But like Armin has said, it's really not a long-term thing you want to try. I guess what, around 4 to 6 weeks, and then you know take a look at carb cycling. That might be a
Yeah.
better way for you. So, Armin, great information, man. Thank you so much for all of
All
the
right.
data today.
No problem. Again, it's always a pleasure trying to help.
All right. All right. We'll stand by for a quick word from NSP Nutrition, and Armin and I will be right back.
Hey, and welcome back to the NSP Nutrition Show. I'm Arman Eckelbarger.
Hey, I'm Frank Mills, and if you're if you have a sweet tooth like I do, sometimes I enjoy things quite a bit, and I have found a replacement for some of those cravings, and that's NSP's milk and egg protein. Comes in chocolate, vanilla, and cherry almond. And
Yep.
I'll tell you what, there's a lot of nights I've been experimenting, Armin.
Oh yeah.
Crushed ice, it's
Oh
almost
yeah.
like ice cream to me. So I'm really enjoying this milk and egg protein.
Well, if you put it with heavy cream, it's a great pudding as well. It mixes up really well too.
Uh,
So yeah, yeah,
it's
it's good
good
stuff.
stuff. Yeah. So if you haven't tried it, check out NSP Nutrition's milk and egg protein. It's an excellent flavor
Yeah.
and really good for you. So highly recommend. So anyway, let's get on with the show. Fan questions. Now, this is a pretty tasty question, Armin.
Okay.
We've got a gal named Alyssa who has watched our show going way back to Reality Fitness, and she's
Oh wow.
watching over here now.
Okay.
And
Cool.
she said that multiple shows we've talked about food and how to keep the boring out of our menu, right? How to enhance things, different recipes. Her and her husband follow a good nutrition plan, but they're really bored. Now they do all of their own cooking. They do it themselves. They asked if you had any suggestions or ideas for one, quick breakfast recipes, and number two, how you do things enhancing the flavor of the meats that you cook. So I have some, but I thought I'd let you go first.
Well, I kind of, I let the wife handle that a lot of times. But for me,
Right.
like I'll use some Tabasco sauce to kind of give some spice from that, some flavor from that. Garlic salt. I really like garlic salt, especially on any kind of beef. So I do different spices, but they're like a Cajun spice I like to use, but I don't have the name of that one. I'm also a pretty bland eater, so I'm really not. That's why the wife, I'll cook something up, and she'd be like, what is this? So I'm
Right,
probably not
right.
the best person to ask on that, but you know, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm probably not the best to ask. You probably got more on that than I'll ever have, right?
Well, I'll tell you, we've talked about the breakfast quite a bit. I like a fast, easy breakfast.
Yeah.
So yeah, scrambled eggs. What I do is I cook my bacon, and something I'm doing now, something new I tried to change it up. I chop up my home cooked bacon, right? I chop it
Okay.
up, and then I sprinkle those bacon chopped up bits into my scrambled eggs,
Okay.
and use the organic butter. And oh
Okay.
my God,
Oh, that
it's
sounds good.
great.
Yeah.
So I do that. I also got this idea off of YouTube. Create a little kind of a crust out of cauliflower
Yeah.
and put them in a muffin pan. And I mix egg and bacon and mushrooms and
Mm.
scallions. And I
Mm.
pour that mix into that and I bake those and I pop them in the microwave in the morning. Oh my God, those are awesome.
That
So,
sounds good, man. Rock
okay.
solid.
So those are a couple of options for breakfast. For dinner or for meat,
Mhm.
my biggest thing is if you're not marinating,
Oh,
seasoning,
okay.
and letting it refrigerate overnight, you're doing a disservice to how you're cooking any meat that you have,
Mm.
including fish. Um, I like natural trout, I like the
Oh, okay.
freshwater trout, saltwater trout a lot. Um, Other fish I enjoy quite a bit, but fish, if you're not seasoning it, it's very bland for the most part.
Yeah, well, I gotta agree with that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I
So
use the Cajun seasoning for. We kind of blacken the fish. So
that's right. That's right. Now, burgers, burgers are crucial. If you're just making patties and throwing them on the grill, salt and pepper, that's boring.
Okay. I agree.
I cut up mushrooms. I will cut up onions, scallions,
Okay.
garlic, some minced garlic, and I mix that with the meat. I marinate it.
Oh, that
Then I
sounds
make my
good.
patties. Boom, on the grill. A lot of flavor. You'll find that you'll eat it slower because it's so flavorful.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's my thought. And hopefully, Alyssa, that helps you guys out a little bit. But yeah, if you're not marinating, you're doing a disservice to your cooking, right?
All right.
So
And my wife does that from time to time, so I have to kind of stay on that more. Good idea.
I'm telling you, good flavors, man. And you know, on a side note on the grilling, there are so many different type of natural wood chips that you can use to change that flavor up too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So that's enough of the of the cooking part of the show. We got 3 questions, Arman, on NSP supplements, and why is it so critically important that we are doing the show? A lot of people think that we make a ton of money for doing this. A lot of people think that we're just trying to hawk this for NSP. And I'll let you go first. We got to be brief because we're running low on time here. But
Okay.
why are you a spokesperson for NSP? Why do we do this show?
Well, I use a lot of supplements and I like them, so it was a pretty natural transition for me. I mean, the company asked me to do it, and then I had to talk you into it. But at the same
Right,
time,
right.
it was to again talk more. We talk more than just supplements, though. But when we do, we're talking about supplements that have an effect and that they can help. So, that's why I started buying the products a long time ago from NSP, because once I tried them out, I was like, they're really good.
Right,
So
right.
that's my take on it. But then there's reasons for these different supplements because how they can help your body. It doesn't mean you need to take these supplements the rest of your life. They can help boost your levels back that may be depleted, and then you can just periodically relook at it. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of flexibility with it. I don't know if that answers the question, but
Well, I think it does, and I think to even take it to another level is we all sell things every day. You watch a good
oh
movie,
yeah,
you tell somebody about it, you're selling that movie to them to go watch it.
well that's
A
true.
TV
Yeah,
show, restaurant, some good shoes you got, wow, I went to vacation here. You're telling people about things that made an impact in your life, right?
yeah,
Whether
yeah,
it's short term
yeah.
or long term, you believe in it, so you tell people. And that's kind of what Armin did with me. His lifestyle, he believed in it. I tried the multivitamin. I've never had a vitamin make me feel like this one does. I have so
Yep,
much energy. And the more supplements I try and take for different things, like the joint relief, I was having problems with my left knee. I
yep.
don't have that problem now. So I believe in them as well. And NSP stands for naturally sourced products. So that's what we believe in. And that's why. So hopefully that answers your questions.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
we don't make zillions of dollars. Matter of fact, we don't make much money at all, just to be honest with you. But
Yeah.
we do it because we believe in it. And that's
I
why.
mean, let me just say this: if we made a lot of money on this show, it would be a lot more elaborate. I could just tell you, because you look at some of these other,
Right.
other shows; they're very
Yeah.
elaborate. We
Right.
don't have a
Right.
budget for that, so
We are not elaborate. We're just here
yeah.
doing the show. So
So this is
please
pretty
share it with your friends
straightforward.
or family. We'd
Yeah.
really appreciate if we could impact one person. It would mean a lot. And you can do so by scanning the QR code, or you can comment on YouTube on the show that you're watching, or you can email us at support@nspnutrition.com. Armin, great show.
All right.
Unfortunately, we're out of time. Join Armin and I next week for a brand new episode of the NSP Nutrition Show.
Hey, thanks for checking out the NSP show. Go to nspnutrition.com where you can find a whole heap of resources to help you achieve stunning definition and eye-popping levels of muscularity. Don't forget you can save 10% on your first order by using the code NSP show at the checkout. Catch you next time.